We'll go off camera and turn on the air compressor so you guys don't get blasted by it. Then I just like to give them a quick rinse with brake cleaner after the parts washer, and then I'll blow everything out with compressed air. You know, diluted simple green isn't as bad. I put these bearings in there as a test, and they haven't been eaten up, but so I have it diluted. It's not 100% concentrated, and it seems to work. Just a little bit more elbow grease, but I'm fine with that. Like a smudge in the bottom of the carb. This thing did have a lot of sediment in it. It's actually got a stamping date somewhere. So this carburetor was originally built in 2006, and it was remanufactured in 2008. The date's on the bottom here. That's a Rayman stamp. The original stampings are here is 10/13/06. I don't know if that's universal, but this was a Rayman unit directly from Edlebrock. They're cheaper. It's a pretty basic carburetor. It's not, I tell people, there's nothing to be afraid of in rebuilding these carburetors, or even a Holly for that matter. So there's some shit in the throttle bores, but before this stuff starts to dry out and leave a film, clean it out. Cookie tray. It's down there. I got another oil. I did not know I had this many containers here. This one's clean. I'll use that one. So, go with that. Just a little bit. Dry it up a little. Alright. Alright guys, got the compressor on. I got this all laid out, our parts. I'm going to be working here because it's kind of not a bad little spot to work in. We got this bench, which is a little bit cleaner than my other bench. It just kind of works out. So I got the rebuild kit. Obviously, I just cleaned the main body, and I'm just going to blow everything out. Go through all the jets and everything. Bolt holes, everything out. got your idle feed, which are down here. Usually I end up using like a gasket scraper for these. These are kind of a weird, I don't have a wide enough screwdriver for that. These are the old needle seats. This is the needle and seat assembly. And on these carburetors, they just kind of float. See, it's on the inlet side of the carburetor, there's a little sock that goes in there. I don't know, I hope that showed up. There is a washer at the bottom. And I usually clean with all this stuff in place because sometimes it gets stuck. After you run it through the parts washer, it'll free up some of the corrosion. This is an aluminum body. That one's got a sock too. I thought it was only the primary side. Yeah, look at that. There's a lot of gunk in there, man. Check that out. I don't know how well it's going to show up on the camera, but both of them do have a little crud in them. And make sure that there isn't any specific numbers. These are both 42s. So that's for reference. We got our new ones here. I know I got music in the background, so I really hope you guys can hear me well. So in this bag is your entire, your needle and seat assemblies. I'm going to lightly lay them in here to make sure we don't lose anything. So these are nice, neat, and clean. I'm putting them in on the wrong side, so let's put our filters in. And so we'll put the smooth side up. These are rubber coated or Teflon coated, whatever they use. But the washers are coated. We're going to start with the top head of the carburetor, obviously. That's kind of where I'm starting at. Now I know to be proper, I probably should have taken off this choke shaft, but I don't really run a choke. So it's tight. Now put our little filter. And there, it's amazing how much crud was in there. That's enough to make something not be right. I didn't put the washer on that one. I got a little ahead of myself. This is why I don't like completely open up all of the parts, because sometimes everything being sprawled out makes it a little hard to keep track of everything. I know you guys can probably hear my fan in the background. It's going to be in the high 80s today. And it's still kind of nice in the garage, so I got the door closed. But I don't really get a breeze in here. It kind of sucks, but okay. That's in. Okay. These are both tight. They're good. Gasket scraper. That worked. Okay. So then these are needles, obviously. This is what controls the amount of fuel in the bowl. And it does it through the floats. So if it's like a toilet, if it drops, it'll start to fill until this thing stops. So it's the same concept as your crapper. So there's no holes in them. Always check for holes, because if there's a hole in the fuel float, it'll sink. Make sure it's not damaged either. I haven't had brand new carburetors that came with these smashed. And obviously the tab at the back is what stops it, so it bottoms out on the back. I've done a few of these. I'm not exactly a professional with the edlebrocks, but I know just enough to get me by, which is half the battle. And if I can get this lined up, I'd be on easy street. There we go. So that one's in, and you don't want to flip it over because your needle will fall out. So we'll have to check these later. The checking procedure on these, they give you a little ruler. I've believe it's about 3/8 of an inch from the bottom. I usually use like a extension or something of the similar diameter for it, and it seems to work. So I hope you guys can see that. This is I don't get a preview. I don't get a preview, but so. So see, you don't like that. It doesn't want to move. But also the needle does move. But keep in mind, I just want to make sure it's not binding up, because the needle will get pushed with fuel pressure, so that will be a thing. Okay, good. Okay, cool. So yeah, it doesn't take much. They're not getting jammed up was my biggest concern. So they're definitely. I definitely have to check these out though, because actually looking at it now, I want to see something. No, yeah, I had it right. I just wanted to check and clear that, because it felt like, for some reason, so you know, you guys are actually watching me go back and check my work as I work, so I practice what I preach. So we'll go back and set that fuel float level before we assemble it. I am going to take this off. Hope it comes off relatively easy. Okay. There we go. I just want to pop this off to check it. Obviously it came off easy, so it's not all crudded up internally, I guess, in the threads. Yeah, everything's good in there. It's clean. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this back on. Again, not really a rebuild, like a true rebuild, where you take the shafts out and you make sure that the bores aren't worn out for the throttle plates and the cross shafts and stuff. But this is kind of a cleanup, a freshen up. So this is good. Move on to our main body. We got a couple of components there. Clearly, we already blew this out. You saw that. So this is your this is your weighted secondary. So what happens here is air comes through the carburetor. If I can get this in, there we go. As air comes in, it'll pull it down. You know, and it has to work against the weight of the weights. So I just want to make sure I got them in there right, because you know, dumber things have happened, but these can only really go in one way. I just wanted to make sure. So this is our nozzle assembly. We'll pop all these out. I hope my content doesn't get muted. I got like instrumental rock in the back. So I'm putting, actually I probably shouldn't put them in here, but I'm going to put all my gaskets aside. These are our boosters. These are going to need a little bit of cleaning. They are dirty. We'll blast those out with carb cleaner. You can see the gasket got stuck to that. Quite the annoyance. So I actually got to scrape it. That always annoys me. I try to get the gasket, but it's a way of, you know. So let's move this out of the way. I don't want to get shit in there. Gasket scraper, doubled up as a screwdriver. I gotta get a razor blade. The razor blade is obviously tighter, smaller. Alright, it's time to hit it with a little brake clean. Don't gouge it up when you clean it with a razor blade, just be gentle. So this one's getting just low to the point where I gotta shoot it vertically. There's an air bleed in the back here, you got to make sure it's clear. There it is, because it's blowing air the opposite way. Okay, that's ready. I'll set that aside. On to the next one. I'm going to put my hair hose somewhere good. So that's the one we just cleaned. The next one. We just kind of brake clean that down. Now anywhere where there's little passages, you gotta clear out. Okay. Good. Okay. These are clean. These are we'll put them there. This one's pretty clean, didn't have a lot of gasket material on it. This one still has a good chunk of gasket, try to get it off in one piece. Slightly help it come off in one piece. I'm no pro by any means. I gotta keep saying that because some people are under the impression that I'm trying to put myself out there like a real pro, and I'm not. I'm just a dude who loves working on cars. I'll use a straw. These are clean. There. Those are clean. We'll clean our nozzles out. These will be evident. Probably shouldn't point them. You guys can see that. So that's definitely clear. No gasket on there, so that's good. Well, it's supposed to have a gasket, but it's not in there. And I might have to change the step-up springs on this, but these needles are in good shape. I don't see any digging in them where they've been sitting for a while. Obviously, this carburetor gets used. So, accelerator pump. I'm going to switch up the umbrella seal. Looks to be in good shape. I was suspicious of it. Good. Alright, now I do have to reference it for the parts to blow up, just to make sure, because I took this apart last night. Usually I'll do it 1-to-1. I don't really have any books. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. These instructions, man. Top. God damn it, dude. Looks like I'm on a fucking road trip. English side road, read Espanol. It's an old Simpsons joke for you guys. English side ruined, read French. Blake Grill? What the hell was that? Okay, cool. I wanted to make sure I saw this little plug. And I know on some carburetors this blocks off a certain passage, but not applicable here. So it might be for like an ABS or something. I have a standard, which would be like a Carter AFB. So, okay, got everything here. Got this. Got our gaskets here, guys. Okay, we got a lot of little parts here, so I'm gonna open this up and dump it in this little box. Alright, now one of the things to remember, let me fucking put this garbage somewhere. Alright, so let's bring out, put this over here, bring this here. Alright, so our accelerator pump goes here, lip seal goes down. Oh, that fits tight. I think I may have had like a worn accelerator pump, you know? And you don't want to tear them, so spit on it. I hear it creating suction, that's good. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, grab our current gaskets, gotta figure out where they go. So we're gonna have passages here and there. So that's not for that. So, where do I want to start here? So we got your idle mixture adjustment screws, make sure they're clean. We're just going to set them in place. We will have to go back and reset the base tune, so I'm just going to set these in lightly. And then, I mean, these should be pretty good. I had this on a running car. So, but I'll tell you what, man. The idle mixture screws were a little gunky because getting them out was a pain in the ass. So we're going to bottom these out. And I'm going to go out 2 turns. 1, 2. For that, just set it in place. Now don't forget, in the shooter assembly, you got a little metal BB that drops in at the bottom. This goes up at the top. So make sure that all of your orifices are set up correctly. Okay, now I am going to reference this because I know that on Polly's, that check for the accelerator pump circuit, yep, so the ball check goes in the bottom. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. So we're going to find our screws for the nozzles. So these are these guys. I can almost tell just by length. So we grab, and these use, some of the Edelbrocks have a lot of Torx. The older ones have a lot of Phillips in them, which I prefer Torx over Phillips. That's just me. I work on modern cars. I like Torx a lot. Triple squares. You don't have to go crazy. Just make sure they're nice and tight. So then, next thing on the list is, so now we got that figured out. Let's figure out our gasket. We got bearings here. So we got to find the one that's got the side cut to it, which, alright, so I'll show you guys. So in the main body, and I got to be careful I can't tilt it, there's a little notch on the side there. So you just got to make sure that the gasket matches up and that it's on the correct side, because sometimes they are side specific. Like this one doesn't really want to go in that one, so I'll grab this one. This one over here. There we go. She's in. So we'll put this in here. And then we'll grab another screw. before I screw them down. I want to make sure I got all of my correct fasteners here. Because some of these are washed out from the fuel. Those are the ones that are going to go on the inside. And then the brighter ones are going to go on the outside. So that's, these two are washed out. Compare these two. This, and we'll use these. Again, these are, I probably should have bagged them, but that's kind of not how I operate in my life. Look at it different. They're tight. It is aluminum, so don't fucking go ass crazy on it. Our other gasket in there. I cannot stress enough, do not pull the threads out, be gentle. So then we got that ain't right either. Let's figure this out. Grab our gaskets. These are for the secondary boosters. I think they're boosters. Figure this out. Now I want to compare it to the other gasket because this one is a little goofy. So but that's it. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. Put this one in place. Double checking. Trying to not talk too much and just kind of show the work here. So okay. sure everything still moves. Okay, and from here, make sure everything else is good. We already blew out our main wells, everything else. So, check them like that. And then, alright, so I'm going to pause the camera. I'm going to get set up to do this. So, I had to take the floats back off because I forgot that it's an edlebrock. So you have to actually put on the gasket before the floats. But to set it, you have to actually have the gasket in place. You can use a 7/16 drill bit. I'm using a 7/16 bolt. And it's just lightly dragging, like right there, it's barely pushing it up. So, and you know, on these style, you have to bend these, so trying to get eye level with it. I'm going to check it. This one's pretty good. Alright, so they're about the same, pressing down on the gasket, and I'm watching it. I think that's good. Now, I did have okay, so I'm going to do this one a little bend. You want to bend it in this corner right here. Okay. There we go. Because I did have a problem with tip-in on this car, where around turns it would have a slight hesitation. Very annoying. So I think we're set there. Our float level's set. So that's good. Make sure our needles still move. I hope that doesn't become an issue. So that really bothered me. I think they should pretty lightly drop real easy, but we'll figure it out. For now, we'll go forge on. Set up our carburetor. Pop that on. Accelerators. There we go. So now we set up all of our screws. Choke linkage, don't need that. So yeah, this is for choke, I don't use it. So again, this carburetor's never been apart, so when I took the choke off, that just stayed off altogether. Now it does at least. So I did have to actually go back. When I was putting in the one screw, there was a thread that didn't feel right. And I had to chase it with a thread chaser, but we're good. So it didn't feel right. I'm sure in the video you could see where I was kind of bringing it in and I felt it didn't feel right. So I do have thread chasers, so that is nice. I invest in them because it's the difference between just, you know, cross thread is better than no thread and fucking it up, or actually going back and chasing it and making it correct versus completely fucking it up. So, I think we got everything in place. Now this is going to be much like the torque sequence on a car. Do it like a cross pattern. So I did this corner, this one, I'm going to go here. Now this one here, and I'm just snugging them down. Some drink for my coffee. It's a very technical activity. Okay, and here. That way we can ensure that the gasket's going to get crushed evenly. Even though it's a fiber gasket, it doesn't have a whole lot of give. I mean, it's either there or not. Now the only filter I did leave off was the inlet filter. Put a good fuel filter in your lines and avoid that, because that can cause a lot of issues because it's such a small filter that it can easily get gunked up, and you saw it on that other, you know. Okay, now I'm going to start here. I'm going to go around in a circle after I kind of crisscrossed it, just to make sure everything is good. I didn't miss anything. So, okay, that's all set. So now, make sure that everything is good. Making sure the linkage didn't move around, because okay, we're good. Make sure you got wide open throttle, nothing's biting up. Okay, that's what I'm checking right now, but something doesn't sit well with me here. I think this thing went for a full cycle, and I think this is supposed to sit. No. So that's what I'm trying to check out here, because no, you know what it is. Let's go back, guys. I should know better than this. I fixed the carburetor for this problem. So this is as real as it gets right here. My boss's '67 Camaro, he had a bog, really bad bog, and we couldn't figure it out. So he brought it by the shop, because I worked with him on his cars a lot at his house. He's got a really nice setup there. And So it was the same thing. When I took the carburetor apart, the primaries felt limp. And going through everything, it jostled my mind. Well, a couple of things here on why. One, I don't have the linkage hooked up yet for the accelerator pump, but very easy to miss. I'm glad that this happened because I can show you guys that I am human. But if you're careful and you check everything, you usually tend to catch your mistakes. Let's take this back off. The spring. Now it's happy. Okay, so what that's going to do is once you hook up the linkage, it will return and have that pressure on the rod. So, okay, we got everything in there. So I'm going to go ahead and get these in. And since I took the linkage completely off on the accelerator pump, I should be able to completely get it on, but I can't exactly say so for sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snug 2 bolts in. Okay, here's our S linkage. And I need the arm. Arm usually goes in here, and I think I went with the mildest setting. So your S linkage goes through here, this goes here. You are going to have to parse down a little bit, but let's get our linkage in place. There we go. I think I went with the least aggressive shot. I forgot where I had it, to be honest with you. I probably should know these things and make a note of it, but here's our screw for our linkage. Let's screw that in place. Okay, so now, there we go. It's not limp anymore. Got just a little pressure. That's at the accelerator pump. Alright, so let's finish putting all our screws in. Get that done right here real soon. Go back to our formation. So, I think a lot of guys would have probably edited out that mistake, but no. You know what, I kind of embraced that. So there's a little, I got a little oozage here. That was just okay, cool. That wasn't a passage, that was a threaded one. So I saw that caught my eye, and I wanted to make sure that it was out, and it was just on the threads for the step-up springs and the rods and all that stuff. Yeah, on the primaries on these, the way that the edlebrock's meter fuel is just slightly different than an edlebrock. But I'll tell you what, these are good little carburetors. They work really well. And I've gotten a lot of miles out of mine, certainly. This one, I mean, I just told you guys earlier, that's from 2008. So, make sure it moves freely in there. It's going to be in a lower position. And these are in good shape, so I checked those out. It goes in there, not in there. Yeah, make sure you put it in the cup, not in the rod. And I'm going to go back and check the other one out. I would be able to see it from the top, so. Put a little cover on this side. we're pretty much out of parts. So get this tightened down. Make sure that everything is good and seated properly. You don't want fuel leaking on your engine, and do check for fuel leaks. I should say not fuels. The car should definitely have fuel. Okay. Now I do have to put a little clip on the accelerator pump. Finish tightening that down. Go. Put our vacuum cap. Alright, so the car is running really, really good at my end. So the only problem right now is that it's actually running a hair hot. I mean it's kind of hot out, but right now it's at like, I think it's right around 220, because the split between 190 and 250 is 60 degrees, and it's right in the middle. So you have 30 to 190, that's 220. That's like boiling. And I think the reason for that is we messed with the timing. So I think what's going on is while I'm driving, I don't have enough timing, and it's actually, the timing's probably a little retarded while cruising. So I'm going to have to probably change the centrifugal springs, because right now I got a very stiff set in there. So I'm going to go to a medium, and I'll have to drive it tomorrow once this thing completely cools down, because right now it's a hair hot. And I mean, I was actually really beating on it. So I think under normal circumstances, it probably wouldn't be an issue, but I think that's because of the spring combination that I got in the distributor, so that just shows you how much timing can really affect it. Because right now, car runs good, we mash the gas, and it's happy. So from here, I gotta go back to the timing, you know, and that bog is pretty much gone too, and I'd like to say that. Hopefully, once we drive it again, we'll find out what happens, but it runs really, really good. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Share, like, subscribe. Yeah, definitely a lot more fine tuning, but the carburetor was definitely the culprit. So we got to go back because we were tuning around the carburetor. So yeah, just have to change the centrifugal advance. And I think right now I got like either 2 medium or a light and a heavy, or a medium and a heavy. So again, yeah, just share, like, subscribe. We'll let you guys go.